Have you ever wondered why some people making six figures still live paycheck to paycheck, while others quietly build fortunes without ever showing it off? What if I told you that most millionaires don't live in mansions or drive flashy cars, but instead live right next door in modest neighborhoods? Today, we're breaking down one of the most eye-opening books ever written about wealth, The Millionaire Next Door. By the end of this video, you'll see money, lifestyle, and success in a whole new light. The authors explain that their research into millionaires began with a surprising discovery. Most wealthy individuals didn't live in glamorous zip codes. Instead, they lived in ordinary neighborhoods, often driving used cars and shopping at regular department stores. The book sets out to destroy the myth that wealth equals luxury and to reveal the real habits of America's wealthy. Who really becomes wealthy? Most people confuse income with wealth. You're not wealthy if you make $200,000 a year and spend it all. You're just living large. Wealth is what you accumulate, not what you spend. The authors identified 7 common factors that nearly all millionaires share. 1. They live well below their means. 2. They allocate time, energy, and money effectively. 3. They prioritize financial independence over status. 4. Their parents did not provide financial handouts. 5. Their adult children are self-sufficient. 6. They seize market opportunities. 7. They chose the right occupation. Chapter 1. Meet the millionaire next door. When you think of a millionaire, what comes to mind? For many, the picture is clear. A luxury car, a sprawling mansion, designer suits, and expensive vacations. But in reality, most millionaires look nothing like this stereotype. They are far more likely to be your quiet neighbors living in an ordinary suburb than someone flaunting wealth on social media or in glossy magazines. The authors discovered that the typical millionaire is surprisingly ordinary in appearance and lifestyle. On average, he is in his late 50s, often married with children, and has lived in the same house for many years, sometimes decades. In fact, nearly half of millionaires have lived in their homes for over 20 years. These homes are rarely extravagant, averaging in the $300,000 range, far from the sprawling estates people imagine. Most millionaires are self-employed, and they often work in unglamorous industries. They are business owners, entrepreneurs, or professionals in fields like welding, pest control, farming, or small contracting. In fact, 2/3 of millionaires are self-employed, even though the self-employed make up less than 20% of the American workforce. They tend to build businesses that solve everyday problems, and over time, these businesses provide steady wealth accumulation. Perhaps even more fascinating is their attitude towards spending. Millionaires don't usually wear luxury watches or bespoke suits. Many buy their clothing at department stores like J.C. Penney or Sears, and their watches are practical brands like Timex or Seiko. Their cars are often American-made, practical vehicles that they hold onto for years, not the latest luxury imports. The research found that only a minority of millionaires drive current model year cars, and even fewer lease cars, a common financial drain for those trying to look wealthy. What truly sets millionaires apart is not income, but behavior. Over 80% of millionaires are first-generation wealthy. They didn't inherit fortunes. They built them through discipline, saving, investing, and resisting the temptation to overspend. In fact, the majority of millionaires could live comfortably for more than a decade without earning another paycheck. They have what the authors call a go-to-hell fund, enough savings and investment to walk away from work if they ever wanted to. Another surprising discovery is the role of the millionaire's spouse. In many cases, the wives of millionaires are the true financial planners of the household. They often act as budgeters, carefully tracking expenses and ensuring that the family lives within or below its means. The couple's shared commitment to financial independence is the cornerstone of their success. Their philosophy can be summed up in one phrase: it is more important to be financially independent than to look rich. So, who really is the millionaire next door? He is not the flashy spender society imagines. Instead, he is the quiet accumulator of wealth, living a disciplined, modest, and financially responsible life. He values independence over status and stability over show. Chapter 2. Frugal, frugal, frugal. If there is one word that defines millionaires, it's frugality. The research revealed a striking pattern. Millionaires live well below their means, often spending far less than they could afford. Frugality is not just a habit for them. It's a philosophy, a way of life that allows them to steadily accumulate wealth over decades. The book reveals fascinating statistics about the spending habits of millionaires. For example, more than half of them have never spent more than $399 on a suit. Many have never paid more than $140 for a pair of shoes. And when it comes to watches, the majority spent less than $100 on their most expensive purchase. These figures shatter the illusion that the wealthy indulge in high-end luxury goods. Why do millionaires live this way? Because they understand that money spent on status symbols does not grow. Millionaires choose to invest in appreciating assets, not depreciating ones. While many high-income earners try to project wealth by purchasing luxury cars, designer clothing, and expensive vacations, millionaires focus instead on saving and investing their income into assets that generate long-term financial independence. The contrast becomes especially clear when comparing PAWs, prodigious accumulators of wealth, with UAWs, under-accumulators of wealth. PAWs often live on a fraction of their income, saving and investing diligently. They don't feel the need to keep up appearances, and this allows them to build significant net worth over time. UAWs, on the other hand, may earn high incomes but spend excessively to maintain a certain image. They lease expensive cars, buy luxury homes, and overspend on clothing and entertainment. As a result, they struggle to accumulate lasting wealth. The media tends to glorify the flashy lifestyles of celebrities and athletes, lavish spending, exotic vacations, and over-the-top purchases. But these are exceptions, not the rule. Most millionaires do not live this way, and those who try often find their wealth disappearing quickly. Real millionaires know that financial independence is more satisfying than momentary status. One memorable story from the authors involves a group of decamillionaires, those worth more than $10 million. When invited to a fancy interview session stocked with expensive wines and caviar, these millionaires ignored the spread and preferred simple beer and sandwiches. This was a perfect example of how the wealthy often prefer modest consumption even when they can easily afford extravagance. At the heart of it, frugality is about choice. Millionaires choose to live modestly, not because they can't afford more, but because they value freedom, independence, and financial security over social status. They know that living frugally today means being wealthy tomorrow, is the foundation stone upon which all their wealth is built. Chapter 3. Time, Energy, and Money. If there's one thing millionaires understand better than most people, it's the value of time. Wealthy individuals don't just budget their money. They budget their hours, their energy, and their focus. They see time as a non-renewable resource that must be carefully allocated to activities that build and preserve wealth. The research shows that millionaires spend significantly more time on financial planning than non-millionaires. They dedicate hours each month to reviewing budgets, analyzing investments, and strategizing their next moves. This is in sharp contrast to high-income but non-wealthy professionals who often spend little to no time managing their financial future, leaving them vulnerable to lifestyle inflation and financial insecurity. The book highlights the comparison between PAWs, prodigious accumulators of wealth, and UAWs, under-accumulators of wealth. PAWs consciously dedicate their time to wealth-building activities. They read financial statements, meet with accountants, plan investments, and monitor expenses. UAWs, on the other hand, spend their time on consumption-related activities, such as shopping, attending social events to maintain status, or making unnecessary upgrades to cars and homes. One case study compares two doctors, Drive North and Drive South. Drive North, a PAW, spends much of his time managing his investments and ensuring his family lives within their means. His financial discipline allows him to save and grow his net worth. Drive South, despite earning a similar or even higher income, spends most of his energy on maintaining an upscale lifestyle, expensive clubs, cars, and vacations. The result? Drive north steadily builds wealth while drive south struggles to stay afloat financially. The lesson here is profound. Being busy is not the same as being productive. Millionaires understand that where you spend your time determines your financial future. By consciously directing time and energy toward financial independence rather than social status, they ensure long-term security. Chapter 4. You aren't what you drive. If there's one symbol of wealth that people obsess over, it's the car. Automobiles are marketed as status symbols, and many believe that a luxury car signals success. But the reality uncovered by the authors is just the opposite. Most millionaires don't drive flashy vehicles at all. The data reveals that the majority of millionaires drive practical, often American-made cars. They buy vehicles for reliability and value, not for prestige. Many millionaires hold on to their cars for years, sometimes even a decade or more, rather than cycling through new models every few years. Leasing, commonly seen among high-income professionals, is rare among millionaires because it drains money that could otherwise be invested. Why does this matter? Because cars are one of the most expensive, depreciating assets people purchase. A brand new luxury car loses thousands in value the moment it's driven off the lot. Millionaires understand this and refuse to pour their wealth into objects that decline in value. They would rather put that money into businesses, investments, or real estate, things that grow over time. The authors tell the story of a successful Texan entrepreneur who drove an old, modest car and lived in a lower-middle-class neighborhood, despite being worth millions. When asked why, he explained, "I don't own big hats, but I have a lot of cattle." In other words, he doesn't spend money on appearances. He spends it on assets that produce wealth. The takeaway from this chapter is clear. Your car does not define your success. Millionaires prove that true wealth isn't about what you drive. It's about what drives your financial decisions. Chapter 5. Economic Outpatient Care. One of the most surprising findings of the book is the concept of economic outpatient care, EOC. This term refers to the financial support that wealthy parents provide to their adult children, whether through gifts, allowances, down payments for homes, or ongoing subsidies. While this may seem like generosity, the research shows that EOC often harms more than it helps. Children who receive frequent financial assistance are more likely to become UAWs. They develop habits of consumption rather than habits of saving and investing. Instead of learning to live within their means, they adjust their lifestyles upward, expecting financial support to fill the gaps. Ironically, the more money affluent parents give, the less wealthy their children tend to become. For example, parents who give their adult children large sums to buy homes often find that those children purchase properties beyond their real financial capacity. The children then struggle with high upkeep costs, expensive neighborhoods, and peer pressure to consume more, all because they were boosted into a lifestyle they could not sustain on their own. Meanwhile, children who do not receive EOC typically develop greater self-reliance. They learn to budget, work hard, and build wealth independently. These individuals are far more likely to become PAWs, accumulating wealth steadily over their lifetimes. The research also highlights a troubling cycle. Parents who provide EOC often end up supporting their children indefinitely, straining their own finances in the process. What was intended as a gift becomes a long-term financial burden. The authors conclude that the best gift parents can give their children is not money, but discipline, independence, and financial literacy. Teaching children to live within their means and to value financial independence ensures long-term prosperity. In other words, raising self-sufficient adults creates more wealth than writing checks ever will. Chapter 6. Affirmative Action, Family Style. This chapter digs into the consequences of favoritism and unequal distribution of wealth within families. Parents often believe that by providing extra financial help to one child, perhaps the one who struggles the most, they're giving the child a fair chance at success. In reality, the research shows that this form of affirmative action, family style, often backfires. When one child receives more financial support than others, it creates dependency. These children begin to expect assistance and adjust their lifestyles around it. Instead of working hard to build independence, They rely on their parents' wealth to maintain a certain standard of living. Over time, this undermines their ability to accumulate wealth on their own. They become UAWs, or under-accumulators of wealth, trapped in a cycle of dependence. On the other hand, siblings who do not receive financial handouts are often more motivated to work harder, live within their means, and create independent financial success. These individuals are more likely to become paws or prodigious accumulators of wealth. The authors emphasize that unequal treatment breeds resentment within families and can damage both finances and relationships. One example in the book highlights children of wealthy business owners. Parents often try to ease the path of one child, paying for graduate school, buying them homes, or placing them into executive roles within the family company. But research shows that these children frequently underperform compared to siblings who received little to no financial support. The lesson: helping too much can hurt more than it helps. The authors stress that true empowerment comes from teaching children independence, discipline, and the value of money. Giving unequal financial advantages may provide temporary relief, but in the long run, it stunts growth. In wealth-building families, the most valuable inheritance isn't money. It's the mindset of self-reliance. Chapter 7. Find Your Niche. Millionaires rarely build their wealth in glamorous industries. Instead, they succeed by finding profitable niches, spaces in the economy where demand is high but competition is low. These niches often involve dull normal businesses that might seem unremarkable at first glance but provide steady and significant income over time. The research revealed that many millionaires own small businesses, welding shops, pest control services, janitorial companies, or small manufacturing firms. These may not carry prestige in society's eyes, but they generate consistent cash flow and wealth. The secret is that these millionaires focus on industries where people are willing to pay for reliable service and where big corporations often overlook opportunities. Another important point is that millionaires don't chase every opportunity, they specialize. By carving out a niche and becoming experts in it, they dominate markets that others find uninteresting. This ability to target opportunities and commit long-term allows them to steadily accumulate wealth. The authors also highlight how immigrants in America have historically succeeded through niche businesses. Whether it's grocery stores, laundromats, or specialized trade services, these entrepreneurs thrive by serving their communities in ways others ignore. Over generations, this entrepreneurial spirit often builds substantial family wealth. The key takeaway from this chapter is simple. You don't need a glamorous job title or a Fortune 500 company to become wealthy. Find a niche, serve it well, and wealth will follow. Chapter 8. Jobs, Millionaires versus Heirs. The final chapter draws a sharp contrast between self-made millionaires and those who inherit wealth. The differences in mindset, habits, and outcomes are stark. Self-made millionaires, those who built their fortunes through discipline, business ownership, and smart financial choices, are far more likely to sustain and grow their wealth over time. Heirs, however, often underperform. Why is this the case? Because self-made millionaires develop resilience and frugality out of necessity. They understand the value of money because they worked hard for it. They tend to invest cautiously, save diligently, and live below their means, even after achieving wealth. In contrast, heirs often view wealth as a given. Without the discipline of earning it themselves, they may adopt lifestyles of overspending and entitlement. The research revealed that self-made millionaires often work longer hours than heirs. They remain deeply engaged in their businesses, monitoring finances, and continuously seeking growth. Heirs, meanwhile, are more likely to pursue leisure, social prestige, or high-consumption lifestyles. The result? Over time, inherited wealth frequently dissipates within a generation or two. The authors stress that this is why 80% of America's millionaires are first-generation wealthy. The process of building wealth instills the very habits, frugality, discipline, hard work, that keep wealth intact. Heirs, lacking this experience, are statistically more likely to spend it away. The conclusion of this chapter is a powerful reminder. Wealth that is built lasts longer than wealth that is handed down. The true secret of the millionaire next door lies in the process of creating wealth, not merely receiving it. So, what's the real secret of the millionaire next door? It's not flashy cars, giant homes, or expensive clothes. It's discipline, frugality, independence, and focus on financial freedom over status. The good news? Anyone can adopt these habits. Remember, wealth is what you keep, not what you spend. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more eye-opening book summaries, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And let me know in the comments, which of these 7 habits do you want to start applying today?